For decades, $100,000 was the number that meant you'd made it. Say it out loud at a party in 1995, and people's eyebrows went up. Say it today, and here's what actually happens to it. According to a recent breakdown of 2026 tax brackets, a single filer earning $100,000 loses roughly $25,000 to federal tax, FICA, and state tax combined, before rent, before groceries, before a single bill gets paid, leaves around $75,000. Sounds fine, right? Except here's loop number one. Because of inflation, that $75,000 doesn't buy what $75,000 used to buy. In fact, multiple recent cost of living analyses estimate that a $100,000 salary today has the real purchasing power of roughly $60,000 to $71,000 just 15 years ago. Loop number two, this isn't only about prices going up, it's about which prices went up the fastest, and they happen to be the ones you can't avoid. Housing, healthcare, childcare, the bills that show up every single month whether you like it or not. And loop number three, the strangest one. Even people who know all this, who track their spending and do everything right, still feel like they're falling behind. That's not a coincidence. That's psychology. And we'll show you exactly why your brain still treats six figures like a jackpot, even when the math says otherwise. But that's only part of the story. Why this matters. This isn't really a video about a specific dollar amount. What does financial security even mean anymore when the number that used to represent it stopped working? If you make less than $100,000, this matters because it shows the ceiling is lower than you think. The goal number people chase doesn't deliver what it used to. If you make more than $100,000, this matters because you've probably felt this exact confusion yourself. Doing better on paper, somehow not feeling it in real life. And if you're just starting your career, this matters most of all, because the financial targets your parents grew up with are quietly out of date, and nobody updated the manual. When $100,000 actually felt rich. To understand why $100,000 feels different now, look at what it used to buy. Using historical purchasing power data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics inflation calculator, $100,000 in the year 2000 had the same buying power as roughly $185,000 today. In other words, the $100,000 earner in 2000 was living a lifestyle that would require nearly double that income now. Back then, healthcare premiums were a fraction of today's cost, mortgage payments consumed a smaller share of income, and a single earner's salary alone could often support a family. The number $100,000 wasn't just large, it was large relative to the cost of living around it. That relationship is what broke, not the number itself, the ground underneath it. Let's do the actual math, using 2026 U.S. federal tax brackets for a single filer. The first roughly $12,400 is taxed at 10%. Income between about $12,400 and $50,400 is taxed at 12%. Income above that, up to around $105,700, is taxed at 22%. After the standard deduction of about $16,100, taxable income starts around $84,000. Add in FICA, Social Security, and Medicare, plus an average state income tax of roughly 4 to 5%, and total taxes land around $25,000. That's a quarter of the entire salary gone before a single expense is paid. Think of it like ordering a large pizza with 8 slices, and before you even sit down, someone takes 2 slices off the top. You're still hungry, but now you're negotiating with 6 slices, not 8. The second bite, the hidden tax called inflation. Here's a concept that trips people up. Inflation isn't a one-time event. It's a constant tax that never announces itself on a pay stub. The Bureau of Labor Statistics tracks this through the Consumer Price Index, and according to recent purchasing power analysis, a $100,000 salary today buys what roughly $87,000 bought in 2020, and what about $71,000 bought back in 2010. Here's the analogy. Imagine a bathtub with a slow, steady leak. You keep adding water, that's your raises. But if the leak drains faster than you're pouring, the water level still drops, even though you're doing everything right. That leak is inflation, and for most workers over the last 5 years, it drained faster than raises could refill it. The third bite, fixed costs that didn't used to exist at this scale. This is the bite most people underestimate. It's not just that prices went up, it's that the unavoidable prices went up the most. According to the Mortgage Bankers Association, the median mortgage payment reached roughly $2,070 a month in early 2026, driven by both elevated home prices and mortgage rates sitting between 6 and 6.5%. That's before property tax, insurance, or maintenance. Healthcare tells a similar story. According to KFF's annual benchmark survey, the average worker's contribution toward employer-sponsored family health coverage hit about $6,850 a year in 2025, up 6% in a single year. Add childcare, which in many major metros now rivals a second mortgage payment, and you start to see the pattern. The costs that used to be background noise in a $100,000 budget are now the loudest line items on it. Real people, real paychecks. Picture a nurse earning $100,000 in a mid-sized city. After taxes, she's at roughly $75,000. After rent, health insurance, and a car payment, she's putting less into savings each month than she did 5 years ago on a smaller salary, because the fixed costs around her grew faster than her raises did. Picture a software developer making the same $100,000 in a high cost of living city like Austin or Denver. On paper, he's thriving. In reality, after rent that eats nearly 40% of his take-home pay, he's one unexpected expense away from touching his emergency fund. Picture a small business owner who nets $100,000 after expenses. Unlike an employee, there's no employer-sponsored health plan, no matched retirement contribution. He's paying full price for both out of the same $100,000 everyone assumes is plenty. Same number. Three completely different realities. That's the trap of treating $100,000 as a fixed marker of success. It was never fixed. It was always relative to where you live, what you owe, and what year it is. Brain still thinks $100,000 is a lot. Here's the psychology, and it explains almost everything about why this feels so disorienting. Behavioral economists call it anchoring. Your brain latched onto $100,000 as the symbol of success years ago, maybe from a parent's comment, a movie, a milestone you heard about growing up, and that anchor never updated, even though the economy around it moved on completely. There's also a comparison trap. Charles Schwab's 2025 Modern Wealth Survey found that Americans now believe it takes about $839,000 in net worth just to feel financially comfortable, and separate research suggests most people say they'd need to earn at least $200,000 a year to feel rich. The bar didn't just move, it roughly doubled in people's minds, while actual median household income sits far below that. So when someone hits $100,000, a number they were taught meant made it, and it doesn't deliver that feeling, they don't blame the outdated benchmark, they blame themselves. That's the psychological trap hiding underneath this entire topic. 3 futures for the six-figure salary. Where does this go from here? Economists generally point to 3 scenarios. Best case, wage growth in high-demand fields outpaces inflation for several consecutive years, housing supply increases, and healthcare cost growth slows. $100,000 slowly regains some of its lost purchasing power. Worst case, fixed costs, housing, healthcare, insurance, keep rising faster than wages, and $100,000 continues drifting from comfortable toward adequate in most major cities. Most likely case, an uneven middle. $100,000 stretches reasonably well in lower cost of living regions and continues to feel tight in major metros, meaning geography, not just salary, becomes one of the biggest levers in whether 6 figures actually feels like enough. What actually makes people feel rich now? If a fixed salary number isn't the marker it used to be, what is? The data points somewhere specific. It's not the size of your paycheck, it's the gap between what you earn and what you spend, and where that gap goes. People who consistently invest even 10 to 20% of their income tend to report feeling more financially secure than people earning significantly more but spending nearly all of it, according to multiple financial wellness surveys. In practice, that means a few things matter more than the number on your offer letter: your savings rate, how much of your income goes to fixed, unavoidable costs, and whether you're building assets, not just cash flow, over time. $100,000 was never magic. It was a proxy for a lifestyle that had breathing room in it. The real goal was always the breathing room. The number just used to be a decent shortcut for measuring it. What viewers should actually do with this: don't chase a specific salary number as your finish line. It will keep moving, the same way $100,000 did. Instead, track your savings rate as a percentage of income, not a dollar amount, since it holds its meaning even as prices change. Where you live matters as much as what you earn. The same salary can mean financial breathing room in one city and a tight squeeze in another. And treat healthcare, housing, and childcare costs as the numbers to watch closely, since they're rising faster than wages and will quietly decide how far your income actually stretches. $100,000 was never really magic. It was just a shorthand, a stand-in for a certain amount of breathing room, back when the cost of living made that math work. The number didn't fail you. The math around it changed, quietly, one healthcare bill and one mortgage rate at a time, while the number stayed exactly the same in everyone's head. The real marker of financial comfort was never the salary on your offer letter. It's the space between what you earn and what you owe, and that space is something you can actually build, even if the number everyone's chasing keeps moving. If this documentary changed how you think about your own paycheck, subscribe, because we're going to keep breaking down exactly how this economy really works, one number at a time.